Hello everyone, hope you are good in health. Let us begin today's session. In previous session, we started learning about conventional sources of energy. What are they? The sources of energy which are being used since a long time are called conventional sources of energy. Before we start a new topic, let us learn what are renewable energy sources and what are non-renewable energy sources. I am sure you have learned this in your previous standards. Let us once again recall it. Renewable. In general, renewable means the things which can be renewed. Here, when we talk in terms of energy sources, we can take a meaning as the energy sources which are unlimited. That means it can be renewed again, which are in unlimited quantity. They are said as renewable sources of energy. Here are some examples: solar power, wind power, geothermal energy, biomass energy, hydropower plant, and tidal energy. This all we will learn in detail later on. Then next, what is the meaning of non-renewable energy sources? The sources which are in limited quantity, which cannot be renewed and which cannot be used again once we have used it. So, non renewable energy sources can be said as limited. Therefore, the energy resources which are in finite quantity are said as non-renewable energy sources. Examples are coal, petroleum, natural gas, nuclear energy. This all we will see in this chapter. Again, you can see the difference between renewable energy and non-renewable energy and their examples displayed on the screen. Now let us talk about conventional sources of energy, in which first we will learn about fossil fuels. What are fossil fuels? We all know that fuels formed by natural processes like decomposition of dead plants and animals made fossil fuels. What are the examples of fossil fuels? The examples of fossil fuels are coal, petroleum, and natural gas. So these are fossil fuels. Now you may think, how were the fossil fuels formed? Let us see how they are formed. They were formed during Carboniferous period, which means they were formed million years ago. How were they formed? There was the time when the area was covered by trees, leafy plants, ferns, etc. So whole the area was covered by this type of things. When these plants and animals died, what happens? These dead plants and dead animals sank to the bottom of oceans. Over the years, these dead plants and dead animals formed a spongy layer, and this spongy layer of dead plants and animals was covered by rocks. Then again, over the years, these rocks kept pressure on these dead plants and animals, by which they formed a spongy layer. And because of high temperature and high pressure by the rocks, lead to squeezing of these dead plants and animals. And as a result, because of this high pressure by rocks, the fossil fuels were formed. And the major component of this fossil fuel is carbon. So it is said as the major constituent. What it is? Carbon. In ancient times, wood was the most common source of heat energy. The energy flowing, water, and wind was also used for limited activities. The exploitation of coal as a source of energy made the Industrial Revolution possible. What is a coal? Coal is a substance which is hard, black. It is a substance like a rock, but it is not a rock. It is lighter than rock. Okay. So, increasing industrialization has led to a better quality of life all over the world. It has also caused the global demand for energy to grow at a tremendous rate. As the population increased, the demand for fuels were also increased. Therefore, the growing demand of energy was largely met by the fossil fuels, which are coal, petroleum, and natural gas. Our technologies were also developed for using these energy sources, but these fuels were formed over million years ago, as we already discussed. The fossil fuels are non-renewable sources of energy, which means what? They are in finite quantity. They are limited. So, we need to conserve them. If we were to continue consuming these sources at such alarming rates, we would have soon run out of energy. In order to avoid this, alternate sources for energy were explored. But we continue to be largely dependent on the fossil fuels for most of our energy requirements. It is true that if we use in such a large amount of these fossil fuels, then the time will come when we will not have these energy sources. So we have to use the alternatives, and we also have to use it in limited quantity. Burning fossil fuels has disadvantages too. What are they? The first disadvantage is that burning of coal or petroleum products will cause the air pollution. The next disadvantage is the oxides of carbon, nitrogen, and sulfur, which are released on burning fossil fuels, are acidic oxide, which means when we burn these fossil fuels, they will produce oxides of carbon, oxides of nitrogen, and oxides of sulfur. Now, these are acidic oxides and which are harmful to the life. That means when these acidic oxides are made, these oxides lead to acid rain. which affect humans, also water and soil resources. And in addition, there will be increase in greenhouse gases. We have already learned about greenhouse effect, right? So when this type of burning of fossil fuels will make greenhouse gases, so the number of greenhouse gases will increase and it will have an adverse effect. So these are the disadvantages of using fossil fuels. The pollution caused by burning fossil fuels can be somewhat reduced by increasing the efficiency of the combustion process and using various techniques to reduce the escape of harmful gases and acids into the surroundings. So we need to find an alternative.